Hi there, and welcome to our seminar on effective job searching. My name is Dr. Keith Cullen. I am the Director of Career Services here at Columbia Southern University. And I wanted to spend just a little bit of time today talking to you about job search, because it's one of those things that people don't really spend a lot of time doing. They expect job search will just sort of happen naturally, that if they have a degree, that people will just sort of come to them, or if they just apply to a job, that's all they have to do, and suddenly everything will sort of take shape for them. And the reality is that doesn't happen very often. And I wanted to spend just a little bit of time talking to you about how do you organize and conduct an effective job search so you can find where the really good jobs are. One of the complaints that I hear from students a lot is they'll complain, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And they'll say that as if it were a bad thing. Yeah, that's true to an extent, unfortunately. It's not just what you know, it is who you know. It's both what you know and who you know. But students will spend, well, literally thousands of dollars to prepare themselves to get their degree, to pay tuition and that kind of stuff, and years of their time to build their expertise, to build their whats. Uh, they'll spend all their time building their whats, and they expect that the whats will be enough. But they spend almost no energy or time at all building their who's. They don't know anybody in their field at all. And then they get frustrated when they think, well, okay, it's not what you know, it's who you know. The reality is that who you know can help you get your job. Who you know can get you to day one of your job. But after that, day two, day three, day 6,000, it's what you know. And reality is that you have to know both. You got to have the who's in your life, and you got to have the what's in your life in order for you to be successful in any career that you pursue. The second question that I get quite often from students is, where are the jobs? What they expect is that they are sort of a listing of jobs. When I was younger, it used to be classified advertising in newspapers. So nowadays it's internet-based stuff, but they want to know some central depository. And so they ask questions like, who's hiring right now? And where are the listings? They want to have one central place they go, and all the listings are there, and they just sort of go through it and pick like they're in the supermarket picking out jobs. That's not the reality. Most jobs are never advertised at all. The best jobs, the most professional jobs, the best paying jobs, or will never be put in both newspaper classified advertising. I've been doing career development with college students now for over 20 years. In my entire professional career working with college students, I know of only 2 people that found career positions out of ads in newspapers. They just don't exist. You have to develop a good, effective job search strategy and stop looking for centralized listings of things. All you're going to be is disappointed if that's the case. So let's develop a good, sound job search strategy, and let's go out there and do it. The first step is to begin with this process called market research. Try to figure out your market, because basically when you're in a job search mode, you're selling your skill set. You're selling, as people sometimes say, you're selling yourself. That's partially true, but mainly what you're selling is a skill set to an employer. And so you have to identify who your market is so you know who you're selling to. And so market research is the answer to 2 very specific questions. The first question is, what do you want to do? Sometimes for some people that's pretty easy. For other people it takes a lot of energy and a lot of time and a lot of sometimes frustration to come up with the answers to those questions. But what do you want to do is the first question. You can't say I'll do anything. That makes your job search way too broad. It also means you're going to be disappointed because nobody really wants to do anything. They might think that, but employers appreciate somebody who has a very specific career goal in mind and pursues that goal. So that's the first question. What do you want to do? Second question is, where do you want to live? What I mean by that is, what's the geographic area that you want to work in? And that includes the city that you might live in, but the surrounding area, how far are you willing to commute to get the kind of job that you want? Are you willing to relocate to get the kind of job that you want? where do you want to live comes into play. The bigger the area that you want to live in, the more jobs are going to be available. The smaller the area you want to live in, the fewer jobs are going to be available. But the bigger the area, also the most competition you'll have for those jobs. And so what you want to do is take the answers to these could-do questions and combine them together. Define what's called your sweet spot. Find the intersection between what it is that you want to do and where it is that you want to live, and that's your market. And you want to identify the players, the companies, the organizations within your market that are doing the kind of work that you want to do. That's the first step, market research. Where do you want to do and where do you want to live? The next step is to get organized. This is not another thing that people have trouble doing sometimes. They will just jump in the water and start trying to swim without spending much time at all organizing themselves. This organizational method is actually can be more formal. Some people will use more, like me, I think I'll be more old school and use pen and paper. Other people might use a spreadsheet. The kind of things that you want to capture are who you're meeting. We want us to begin to meet people in your field that are doing the kind of work that you want to do. Well, let me put this another way. You want to meet people who supervise people doing the kind of work that you want to do, because that's the people that actually will hire you in a job search. You won't be hired by your peers. You'll be hired by your supervisors. So it's not enough to meet people who are doing the same thing you want to do. You want to meet who their bosses are. That's the contact person that you want to meet. And you want to meet as many of them as possible. And so as you begin to build the number of people that you want to meet and you are meeting, you'll be at different phases, whether or not that you've just met them and you're having a meeting with them or you're following up after a meeting. You want to have all that stuff together and ready. So the spreadsheet, the paper will help you organize when you met them, when you sent a letter or a phone follow-up, when you had your informational interview with them, whether or not you got any job leads from them, and so forth. Keeps you organized. Because if you're doing 2 or 3, yeah, you might could do that in your head. But if you're doing 15 or 20 of them, that's going to be a whole different situation. The next thing you want to do once you have your spreadsheet ready is to get your JIST card ready. And I know a lot of you just went, what? What's a JIST card? Don't panic. I'm going to explain what that is. Your JIST card is actually a very small resume. It's something that can be included on a 3x5 card, index card. And it really is, you see an example here on the screen, it is basically the demographic information, your name, your phone number, your email address, the kind of position you're seeking, and then a very quick description of your education, your experience, training, job-related skills. All those things come together. It's sort of the very top part of your resume put on a 3x5 card. This becomes your job search business card. If you're at a conference or a meeting with a lot of professionals in your field, you're trying to meet some of those professionals in your field, this is a great way for you to help them remember who you are, because they may meet a lot of people over the course of a meeting or a conference or whatever. And when they get back to their offices, they might have trouble remembering, well, what was that guy's name? This allows them to that little memory jog will help them remember who you are and what you're all about. It is a 30-second presentation of your strengths. It's a great way to show a positive impression to an employer. It is an incredibly effective job search tool, and almost nobody does it. And so if you're doing it, that's going to set you head and shoulders above the rest of the crowd. So let me just strongly encourage you to prepare yourself some JIST cards. Make them as professional as you can. Print them on the back. You can go to Office Depot or something to get these 3x5 index cards that you can put through your computer printer and print them off and make them as professional as you possibly can. It gives them a really great way for you to network, and because they'll have business cards and they'll give you their business card and you have something to give them, and it makes it incredibly effective. So when you're at a conference, you want to begin this process that I call warm networking. And sometimes I call it the Avon method, because it works the same way that Avon uses to attract new customers or new sellers. It starts off with one person. And so if you're at a place where you know just one other professional in the field, Once again, preferably somebody who supervises people doing the kind of work. But if you know one person in your field, then that one person can lead you to two more. And those two more can lead you to four more. And those four people can lead you to eight more. And you build your contacts that way. One of your questions you should ask them is while you're having your conversation is who else do you know that I could talk to where I can learn more about this particular field? You want to develop what's called a mentoring relationship with that person. So you want to ask them things like, how did you get into this field and what kind of things do I need to do? Maybe you want to give them a copy of your JIST card and say, if you were hiring somebody to do the kind of work that I want to do, how would my skills stack up? Would I be considered a strong candidate or a weak candidate in this field? And then do you know of anybody else that I can talk to so I can learn more about this field? Let their recommendations, and you want to try to get 2 recommendations every time. You want to try to build as many of them as you can. But a good number to work with, especially when you're doing networking, is about 25. Because what happens is those 25 people typically know of something somewhere. It may not be in their company, it may be in another company. But you might want to say, one of your questions to them might be, do you know of anything that's currently available where my skills and my abilities might be of some value to that company? It may not be in their company, but they're so well connected in their field that they might think of something somewhere. So the logic here is that everything you do is only going to be half effective. That's the way that's the reason I drew that same networking thing backwards, is that now all the people that you talk to will result in half the time being successful. So 25 people result in 12 job leads. I think Bill and company X has a job that you might be interested in. So you take down their name and their contact information and you go talk to Bill. And that helps get that job lead going. Those 12 job leads, if you're capable and competent, will give you, on average, about 6 job interviews. Now, this is a different kind of interviewing than informational interviewing. Job interviewing is another whole topic. But the 12 job leads will result in 6 job interviews. The 6 job interviews, if you're good, and there's no reason why you won't be, should result in 3 job offers. See how everything is only half successful. Not every interview that you ever take, no matter how competent or successful or capable you are, not every interview will work out. So it tends to be about 50% of the time. These 6 job interviews that you go on should result in about 3 job offers. And your 3 job offers, you pick one of them and you start working. That's your job. Statistically, that's how it's supposed to work. Your mileage may vary depending on the career that you want to go into and how tight the market is, how tight that sweet spot is, how small that sweet spot is. It may be that there's not a lot of turnover. It could be that there's just too much competition, and your mileage may vary. And so while you're talking to these 25 people, don't stop there. Take those 25 and turn that into 50 and continue that process also. But you do that enough, and eventually you'll start finding out where the jobs are. But after your session with them, your informational interview with them, you want to then do a follow-up. Everything should be done with a follow-up. Job interview is done with a follow-up. Job search is these informational interviews are done with follow-up. Every time that you meet with somebody, you want to follow up afterwards. The first thing I want to tell you to do is to do a thank you letter or a thank you email within 24 hours of your meeting with them. Just to thank them for their time and thank them for their expertise, especially if they give you a job lead or additional people to talk to, and give them a chance to express your appreciation to them. Then, about within 2 months or sooner, if they give you a job lead and those job leads pan out for you, you want to follow that up with a phone call. Once again, just sort of check in with them to let them know how you're doing, to ask them how they're doing, and see if there's just something else they might have come up with over that 2-month period that they might help you out with. And then after you finally land that new position, you want to follow up with them to thank them for their help in this process, because you never want to burn a bridge behind you. You never know when you're going to need them again down the road. And after you've landed a new position, just thank them for their assistance. Thank them for their time. That's the basics of job search. So the question then is, I don't want you to cheat, because like sometimes I get this from students, but I can't talk to 25 people or 50 people in my field. My sweet spot isn't big enough. Is 20 enough? No, it's not. Because you do the math yourself. 20 gives you 10 job leads. 10 job leads is uh, five uh, interviews. 5 interviews is 2 job offers. That might get you a job. It might not. Just if you're the point of it is, if your sweet spot is not big enough and you need it to be bigger, then one of those 2 questions has to change. What is it you want to do? You have to broaden your job search targets, or you have to broaden your geographic area. Just because you have a tiny sweet spot doesn't mean, oh, well, I just have a tiny sweet spot. I've got to go out and you have to enlarge that market to make it big enough for you to be successful in it. That means you have to increase your geographic area or increase your job targets to make your sweet spot bigger, so you'll have a big enough market to choose from. The next way that sometimes people cheat is they try to get their friends to help them out. Sometimes with the best of intentions, their friends will go, hey, I know about this job at company X, and give me your resume, I'll go help you. Friends make great runners. They make great resources. They make great referrals, but they never should do the job for you. You shouldn't give them to do all to go talk to your boss, because you'll have no idea what they say. You want to be sure that you have the boss's name, the boss's contact information, and you don't tell your friend to take your resume. You say, give me your boss's information. I will send the resume. You go tell your boss what a great person I am. That puts the onus of job search on you to do, not for somebody else to do. The bottom line is that the moment you give your job search to somebody else to do, you're starting to fail. This is your job search. It should never be given to your friends. It should never be given to an HR office. You should never be sitting at your desk, staring at your phone, waiting for it to ring. There should always be something going on that you should be doing every step along the way. And the final way that people cheat sometimes is they think that everything has to be done through the HR office. And they'll write these elaborate letters of application to an HR office. HR, this is a sad reality for some people, but HR doesn't hire anybody. That's not the job of HR. HR doesn't hire employees. HR screens candidates. That's their job. And so if you don't want to be screened out, what you need to do is talk to the actual person that does the hiring. And the actual person that does the hiring is the person who would be your boss if you were to work there. That's why you want to meet the people who are supervising people doing the kind of work you want to do. They are the actual hiring managers. They will be the people who actually will do your hiring. It's a matter of organization. It's a matter of getting all your little ducks in a row, meeting the right people, letting those people lead you to other people who lead you to where the jobs are. If you have the what's already in place, if you have the capable and the expertise and the talents necessary to do the job, you will be successful. You have to be diligent. You have to be on the ball, and you have to be working the room, meeting the people that you want to meet. And the bottom line is this will be helpful for you regardless throughout the rest of your professional career. The more professionals that you meet in your field, the more connected you are in your field, the better job time you'll have finding the first job. True, but also the easier time you'll have finding promotions, advancement, and finding out where other jobs are that lead you forward in your work life. So good luck. Go get them. And thank you for taking the opportunity to pay attention to us here. And we wish you the best of luck.